Hey everyone, I am the TheChosenOneLegend here, as always joined by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kai, also known as Fascurreyn.
And welcome back to the BunchaJokahs, where, after 4 years of this podcast, thereabouts, we're finally doing a Switch 2 discussion. And I say that because it feels like Switch 2 discussions have been a thing since about 4 years ago, really. It's been
Yep.
a long time, and we've just been like, there's no point. It's like, we're not gonna get on this until there's actually something more concrete, but now that things are really gearing towards the Switch 2, it seems, for the first time, I feel confident saying it's this year. So we thought, now is the time, before it gets announced or whatever, let's give our thoughts on what we want the Switch 2 to be. And it's funny, because we were going to record we were thinking this would be like a direct discussion, a reaction video, but they didn't do one, and that just solidifies my thoughts of, we are wrapping up towards that Switch 2. It's gotta be, right, Kai? Right?
Yeah, I think that's sort of why we're doing this video, is that, I mean, like you say, this has been trending, the Switch 2, for literally 4 years plus. People have been saying it's going to happen this whole time, and it's just always been a thing that people are saying, and it doesn't really matter. But now that they're not doing a direct when they always do one this time of year, you know, and it's lining up to be right about the time where there should be a new console, and there's no new games on the horizon, really. Everything is lining up for there to be a new console. So even us, who have kind of been denying it this whole time, are now saying, like, yeah, there's probably a good chance it's going to happen at least this year.
Yeah. I mean, is this the 7th year of the Switch now? It will be 7 years? So that's,
it is.
that's a hefty life cycle. And, I mean, it's done well, but we're ready to move on. So in this video, we're just going to discuss any ideas we might have. Just to clarify on this, we're going to focus a bit more specifically on the console itself, rather than games. That could be its own discussion entirely. And also, neither of us, I don't believe, have really kept up with leaks and rumours. I mean, we see some bits, you can't avoid them. But we're not going to be going deep into, like, what this person has said Nintendo are doing. It's just going to be what we want, basically.
Yeah.
But, that said, let's get started. There will be maybe timestamps if you want to skip to the different parts. But I want to start off with, really, what we want to keep the same. And just to get the obvious thing out of the way, you know, I think the fact that we're naming it this, we both want it to be a Switch 2. The same device where you move it between your TV and handheld, and it has the Joy-Con that slip off. We don't need like a brand new console, we just want the Switch, but more and better, right? I'm guessing you're in agreement with that.
Yeah, I mean, as the Nintendo consoles go, they want to give every single one a gimmick. You know, like the Wii had the motion controls, and the Wii U had the gamepad and stuff. The Switch's one is obviously being able to play both handheld and on the big screen. And, you know, of course there may be some hardware reasons why they just make one big home console that doesn't have to, you know, deal with potential hardware setbacks. But honestly, yeah, I mean, come on, I think they just keep the same theme, you keep it on the same device. I think the system really works. Let's just keep it as is and try and advance rather than doing something new again. They have a very good formula that they should just stick to.
Yeah, I always respect Nintendo for, like, doing huge innovations, and there still might be some sort of twist to it, but I think this is the time to stick with what works. I mean, clearly, you've got things like the Steam Deck, and you've got, you know, the PlayStation are giving it a little go themselves. This is trending and it's working. And also, like you say, the fact that Nintendo have merged their handheld and console divisions together into one. That's a big, difficult thing to unmerge at this point. So I don't think there's a chance of it being back to basics. I feel like a successor, at least in some capacity, to the Switch, even if they name it something else, is what this is going to be. And honestly, a relief, because the novelty still hasn't worn off 7 years later, I would say.
No, I agree. It's still going really strong, and
yeah.
I mean, if they were to add another gimmick on top of it being the Switch, I don't know what it would be off the top of my head. They are, you know, pretty unpredictable. That's just how Nintendo is. So, I mean, who knows? We could speculate, but they could go in so many different directions with it that, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, the other thing, building off of that I think we both would be in agreement, we want to keep the same, is obviously backwards compatibility and NSO continuing over. We don't want to have to rebuy these games again. We don't want to have to rebuy a new online subscription. I think they found something that works. Dear God, Nintendo, stick to it.
Yeah, honestly, the amount of value we get out of it is still really good, so there are
Yeah.
some things like that I just think stick with it, the formula works, don't go through all the bother of like upheaving it and doing something different. You don't need to. Keep it the same, keep it as a Switch sequel that keeps a lot of the same systems.
Yeah.
We're looking for improvements, we're not looking for revolutions. I think that's the trick here.
And the fact that they've still been adding to NSO with like the Game Boy games recently, I feel like, again, this is one I'm confident in saying that's going to continue on. I don't think there's much chance of it not doing so. And heck, even maybe there'll be like, I know this sounds kind of silly when you mention it, but like a third subscription tier that adds GameCube and Wii games or something, because the next console will be powerful enough to stream those. I guess that comes down to internet as well, so maybe not. But an upgrade to NSO for the Switch 2, fine, but as long as it keeps the basic same system, you can carry over your retro games and your progressing games. I've still got so many. The Switch has such a crazy catalogue of games, both from Nintendo, but third party and retro and everything now, that it's really be difficult to let that go, so I think it needs to continue, really.
Yeah, I agree. It's just everything is going very strong right now. It's like I say, the Switch is obviously getting a little bit old now, but overall it's still been extremely successful. So let's not change everything. Things work. Don't change them. I really like the idea of bringing GameCube and Wii games though to Nintendo Switch Online. It is very aspirational, but I think that could be really cool. Yeah.
There's definitely potential for them to keep upgrading it, or at least give us the remaining games we're missing. Like Smash 64. Where's that? There's a few holdouts still. But now that we sort of covered the similar stuff, is there anything you can start us off, Kai? What's something new you want on the Switch 2? Anything that comes to mind?
In terms of just general anything?
Anything, yeah.
Well, the main thing that, we've been asking for this since, the Switch came out in the first place, is more UI for the menu. Now, a lot of people despise the current UI, and I don't think it's that bad. I actually quite like the minimalist design. But what I like more than minimalist design is options. Give us that minimalist design and then also be like, hey, you can pay £1 or $1 or whatever it would be for a theme with different sound effects and different art, like you do with the 3DS. They have done it before. They have these systems in place. It wouldn't be that difficult for them to just do it. And I still have no idea why they haven't. Put it on the My Nintendo store, put it as a reward on Nintendo Switch Online. Do anything. It's so easy to implement, and I'm not sure why they haven't. So maybe doing the Nintendo Switch 2 or the sequel or whatever they call it, will give them an excuse to do it,
Yeah, I definitely agree. I loved, on the 3DS having, opening it up and then the Xenoblade 1 main theme starts playing and you're looking over Gara Plains and stuff like that. I will say
that specifically is a problem because it made me want to cry every time I opened my 3DS up.
But
well,
that's
overall,
true,
it's really good.
If you bring a cloth to rub away the tears, then, you get into a pattern of it, you know how to deal with it. But it was nice. It was nice having that customization and that you could have it switch between. And whilst I absolutely respect how snappy the Switch is, compared to something like the Wii U, which took forever to load, it is so quick and easy to get between games, and I wouldn't want to get rid of that. But also, we are dealing with presumably more powerful hardware here, so where it could hopefully manage that a little better, If they can get a compromise between not so minimalist that there's nothing there, but also keeping it fast, I'm happy for any balance they give it. Or, at least give us more colours than black and white, come on.
Yeah, it shouldn't be hard. It isn't hard. No. Every other console ever has been doing it, come on. I don't know why they're holding out, and I just hope that this finally gives them a bit of a push. But we shouldn't have to wait this long for it. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that would be an easy way to say, hey, this is new, and immediately look new, because it's the thing you boot up every time you turn on the console, so it's not like it's something you see barely, it's always present. So, yeah, I think that's definitely one they could make. and kind of connect into that a little bit, but in a bigger way. God damn it, I know it's cursed. I want to see the return of Miiverse. Or something like Miiverse. You know, back in the Wii U, you boot up the console, all these Miis would flood your screen with spoilers for different TV shows and inappropriate drawings and intense ratings of video game water, and it was the most messed up thing, and I can see why they got rid of it, but I still want it back. In some capacity.
I agree. It's the most cursed thing, right? Like that's pretty obvious. Nothing good can come of that. Nothing good in terms of like what they would want to achieve. However, oh man, it would be funny, especially how things have evolved. Like, I'm not saying humor's gotten better or worse or anything like that, but humor has changed over the years, and I'd be super curious, especially after people have highlighted how funny these kind of platforms are, just what would happen. Like, I can imagine. I think to expand on it though, on top of that, I would honestly like if they brought back some of the other old Wii programs that existed. You know, the ones where you could like submit Miis for contests, or they
Everybody
poll people on
votes
things. Everybody votes, that's the one, like, man, add the weather app, like, damn. No,
yes!
But like,
Screw
I just
phones.
think more like, I'm not asking for it to be like a home, does all service, kind of like the Xbox has been doing. I don't want that, but like, just a couple more fun little features that aren't hard to implement and maybe are a little bit fun. And if they're cursed, you can shut them down, but like, I think it would be a little fun.
I definitely, the Switch, like, whilst I respect again how snappy it is and clean, it does lack a bit of that personality that the Wii really had, and even the 3DS and Wii U cut back on that in some ways, but I would definitely like to see that kind of thing back. I mean, of course, like, moderation is an issue, but let's be real, just go on the Nintendo eShop, and it takes about 5 games down before you see something not safe for work. Like, among all the, like, the big Nintendo hitters, it'll be like above like Mario Party or something. There's zero moderation going on there, so if they're not going to bother there, I'll accept it. Just give us cursed Miiverse and give us some bit of personality back into the system.
No, very, very true. Yeah, just give us something.
Yeah, have you got anything else, Kai, that comes to mind?
Like I was saying before, like, I have a lot of ideas, but they're ones that I haven't committed to memory, so they've kind of faded for now. But I think you've covered a lot of the key ones of UI, Wii and GameCube stuff on the Switch. All those kind of ideas, like, yeah, definitely just giving us more of things that might have been missing before is very key. If I have anything else that comes to mind, I will interject, but as of right now, nothing's really happening.
Well, no worries, because I've got a few more, and sort of building off of what we're saying with Miiverse and sort of the connectivity of that. I mean, it would be nice to have just better ways to message and interact with your friends on the system, like Sony and Microsoft have been doing for like over a decade at this point. You know, just being able to like voice chat in the system, have like been able to connect your headphones to your Pro Controller, so that'd be an upgrade to the Pro Controller. You know, it's any sort of way to just make online systems better. They've done some things. They added game invites, which is a step, but and to be honest, at this point, we use Discord and that's usually fine, so I can't complain too much. But any way to make that a little easier would be nice, I think.
No, I agree. Actually, that's a really good point, because I can't help but notice all the things we've said are things that like already exist on basically every other console. And like, it's just Nintendo being weird. Like, they made a really good console, and then, as always, they decide to do something really weird. And yeah, hopefully these changes do happen. But yeah, Friends is an absolutely vital one. Like, that's just a really easy one to implement. Again, some sort of messaging system. Obviously, they don't want to deal with potential issues that always arise from those systems, but, you know, I'm sure you could even add something really baseline. Maybe, I guess, I'm kind of thinking like that profile page, you know, where you can go to your friends list and says how many hours they've got in games. Maybe we could add a little more there, you know, give people like on the 3DS, a place to say where their favourite game is, or what they've been doing lately, or something. Yeah, just a little more interactivity might be nice.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's nice when they give you that sort of flair to your profile. Like we got a bit of that with the the new profile images you can get through My Nintendo now, which helps a lot. That definitely really is a nice step up. So I don't really have to talk about that one in this video. But even if they could improve that more and say like let you mix and match backgrounds and characters from different series, why have it separate? Why not let you have a picture of Matthew from Xenoblade 3 above the Mushroom Kingdom? Just any sort of adding and improving onto that, and giving things like, yeah, this is my favourite game, a little bio about yourself or whatever. Yeah, that would go a long way to sort of adding that personality back, like we were saying earlier, I think.
And you know what? I will add one more thing on top of that, the same kind of idea. Like, damn, Nintendo, take whatever godly character creation system you put in for Miitopia, and just make that the new Mii Maker.
Yes.
Like, why not?
Please.
At the very least, have that be like a bonus if you have Miitopia, and like let people transfer it or something, because those Miis are so much better than the ones on the console. They're really, really fun. Like,
I mean,
add
even
those on, why not?
Maybe I'm just making this sound a little scummy, but I don't know, if they want to make more money on it, just make it an NSO thing. If you get NSO, you can get these advanced, higher quality Miis with more detail or something. Any way that we could see that, you can make some, again, beautiful, also cursed shit with that. But that's part of the fun. So yeah, that would definitely be a nice thing to see come back. Now, I have to, of course, touch upon this bit. I mean, it's obvious, more powerful, Give us a bit more power. Is there any... Now, neither of us are tech people, and this is showing, because all I want is, like, game run better, please.
Yeah.
But, is there anything specific you want to see in regards of technological power, or are you as blind on it as I am?
I
see the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm really not picky, like, I think that the style of a game is so much more important than the resolution. Like, I feel like when you try and make games hyper-realistic, they can look really good, obviously, but it's so easy for those high-res games to fail. I think the number one thing I'd want to see is, like, work on the coding to make ports look better. Like, God, like, every ported game to the Switch, like, either runs horribly or looks horrible. Like, they just don't work a lot of the time. So honestly, maybe that's something that could be focused on, is third-party support. That's all I can really think of, though.
I do think, in general, just sort of, rather than, I don't need much more visual fidelity. I mean, you look at some recent games like Mario RPG and Metroid Prime, and these are some of the best-looking games on the Switch. It's still continuing to impress me. But just making some things run a little better, basically, is get rid of some of those frame rate issues that some Switch games have. Make Hyrule Warriors actually playable in multiplayer, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's, I part of that, I think, having, like PlayStation have done with their console, giving upgrades to games where, hey, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom run a little better on this, and they run pretty good on the Switch. But whether it's performance patches or just inherently they look a little better, even if it's like for some games you get big upgrades but you have to pay for them. I know, like I said, PlayStation have done a multitude of different versions of it. I don't really know from a technological way which works best, but give us some sort of way to make previous games look better or run a little better, and I'd be more than happy to revisit them. I mean, there's a great catalogue of games there, so any excuse to go back, can't complain.
I think that's a fair point. I can't help but notice as well, like, all of these things, like I sort of said, are things that already kind of exist. Like, either Nintendo has done them before, or PlayStation has done them before, or they are systems that have existed for 20 years that's Nintendo being weird. Like, is there anything... I mean, I personally can't. Is there anything you can think of that's, like, completely new? You know what I mean? Like, a completely new, fresh idea that they could do with the console that hasn't been done before.
Okay, hear me out. You add smell-o-vision to the Joy-Con, a new feature.
You what? Excuse me?
They like scratch and sniff kind of thing, but have like a smell feature on the Joy-Con, okay? It adds immersion. HD Rumble was the first step. You asked me for something new, Kai. This is something new.
Yeah, sure. You know what? Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's something. I mean, that's the kind of like out of left field idea that Nintendo would probably do, though, and that's kind of what I'm trying to anticipate. But it's
Yeah,
hard because they do just do things that are really unpredictable. And
exactly.
I think it's a testament to the fact that the console's good that like we don't feel like we need something like that. The core system of the Switch is really good. Just
Mm.
add these things that you've been dumb about that you've decided not to include, and like we're happy.
Yeah, like you say, it's like we sort of went back to at the start. It's just the novelty of the Switch hasn't worn off yet, you know. So I don't feel like I'm craving a new novelty or something. Like having a console that does the same but better, and having that be able to just go from TV to portable. I mean, yeah, that's still going to be like, holy shit, I can still do this. I mean, you know, there's technical things like, okay, make your Joy-Con not drift maybe this time, or at least drift a little less easily. I'd like to think they make those kind of refinements on it.
Yeah.
But maybe again, this is coming from someone who doesn't have much of a technological knowledge or experience, and I just want to play more good games, and I want them to be able to. They've been doing that and just make those games run better, and in some cases look a little bit better. But I'm so content with what we're getting on the Switch that I don't need too much. I just want more, really. Just give us more of this and keep them coming.
Yeah.
Give us. I mean, we're not going to, of course, we're not really going to go into games, but I'm just excited to see what new stuff they come up with. You know, get us a Xenoblade
Yeah.
Warriors, get us a new F-Zero game finally or something. Give us Prime 4 after all these years. Like, that's what hypes me more than anything. It's just whatever games we're going to be playing next. I don't really need a big console. Give us good games, and I trust they'll do that. I
Yeah.
suppose.
I do think that's worth touching on briefly as well. Is
Hmm.
like not necessarily all the games that are coming to the console, but if they were to do this, and particularly if they were to release this console in the next year or so,
Yeah.
what would be the release games? Because obviously the games that are on release for a new
Ooh.
console are huge. Also, by the way, while it crosses my mind, um, being able to play regular Switch games and transfer save data across, obvious.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's
Backwards
pretty key. But
compatibility,
like,
yeah.
yeah, backwards compatibility, obviously essential. We hardly even need to talk about it. But
Hmm.
yeah, in terms of what the launch games would be, I think that's really key because the Switch itself had what it was 1-2 Switch as the family party game, and then Breath of the
Hmm.
Wild, which is a pretty beastly game to kick off with. But apart from that, there really wasn't much for like the first year, to be honest.
No, well, it's weird. There was a lot in the first year, but it was a gradual
Oh,
process. But
yeah,
by the
first
end of
like
the
4
year, we had
months, yeah.
by the end of the year we had Xenoblade 3 and Mario Kart and Splatoon 2 and Mario Odyssey. But yeah, it right at the start it was pretty empty. I mean, Breath of the Wild lasted me, of course, but
Yeah.
I do wonder. Like, I think the big obvious one would be to say Prime 4 is going to be a Switch launch title. You know, that would be the big. I hate using this term; it's a bit cringy. You know, like hardcore fans kind of vibe. Get people like,
Yeah.
oh, the Switch, show off the power of the console, like Prime
Exactly.
Remastered did just a year ago on the 6-year-old Switch. You know, so I feel like that's an obvious one, and maybe they're working on something like a new 3D Mario. It's been a long time, but
That's what I was
it,
going to say, is I
yeah,
think they're going to do Mario Odyssey 2. And if the Switch does have any new feature, then it's likely that the new Mario game will have that feature. I think it'll be Odyssey 2. I think it has to be.
yeah, that would be a good one. And I don't want to read too much into this because we're talking Smash, and this always is read too much into. But with like loads of new spirits coming out, like I don't want to deny the possibility that hey, here's an update to Smash or a new release of Smash, and we're adding new DLC you can pay for at launch or something. You know, like that would be a way to get people on there. But that would probably be multi-platform, and that's the thing is I think we might get a lot of stuff that launches on both systems at once at the start. Like, I mean, PlayStation 5 is still getting that. Really, we're only just about coming out of that. And whilst
The
I don't think
PS5 has no games of its own. That's
yes,
the
and that's
thing.
its own problem. We don't want it to last that long. But I do
Yeah.
think we might at the start get a few games that sort of like, hey, this promotes both, but it looks better on Switch too, or whatever. But
I wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if they released a new version of Tears of the Kingdom where like everything's basically the same, but the Switch 2 version has some kind of additional feature of some kind, maybe. Because I know they said they're not doing DLC, so I don't mean that, but like, I don't know, maybe if there's some new gameplay feature that was part of the new console, you know, some kind of gimmick to show off the power of it. I'm not
Yeah.
sure exactly, but I think if they were to choose a game to bring back with an improvement, it would probably be that one. And
That's a
it
good
wouldn't be
idea.
huge. It would be absolutely tiny, but just enough to get hardcore players to buy it.
Maybe like, well, this is maybe an unlikely idea, but if you wanted to show off like, hey, we've got better online systems on this console, maybe something like a new Four Swords game or something like that would be, or even just a
Potentially.
enhanced port of the GameCube one, which still needs a port somewhere, but something like that maybe. Or you could always go with like, hey, if you want your family game, here's a new Mario Party, or here's a new sports game, or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's impossible to say what they're doing at this point. Like, I think Prime 4 is the only one that's really like that would make sense one, but because they were in this like a few years ago, I would have said, or maybe it'll come out the same time as Tears of the Kingdom and that, but we're clearly past
Yeah.
that, so it's it will be interesting to see because, like we said earlier, that we don't know any games that are coming up for them past Peach's Showtime except remakes. So yeah, clearly they're cooking. What they're cooking, I don't know, but we'll sure be here to react to it when they reveal it. That's for certain. We're waiting. But any final thoughts, Kai, on the Switch 2 or anything to do with the successor before we end things off?
Nothing really. Just looking forward to seeing what they do. I hope they give us something soon because we are kind of hanging on right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will, like you say, absolutely be there to talk about it when it happens. And I don't doubt that Sam is going to be all over it too because he's been telling us to make this video for like a year.
Yeah, we caved only because they took a direct from us, but we did cave. But of course, you can stay tuned to any upcoming future reactions and discussions to any Switch 2 news or big game news from Nintendo and other companies here on BunchaJokahs, be that on YouTube for videos or discussions and audio-only versions on Spotify and other podcasting sites. But where else can people find you at, Kai?
They can find me at twitch.tv/Fascurreyn. Currently still playing through Disco Elysium. I'm chilling.
Yep, we're cracking the case gradually.
Yeah, slowly.
Very slowly, but it's coming together. And of course, you can find that in the link in the description below if you want to check that out, as well as a link to our friend Sam, who is our thumbnail guy, our graphic designer, and the guy who forces us to make lots of content. So thank you, Sam. And until then, pray for that Switch 2, and we'll see you in the next time. Goodbye.
Alright, see you then.